they could have gone much further. Exactly. They could have made it more affirming that this character being gay is integral to the storyline. Like, you cannot switch out this character's relationship because this gay relationship is, you're showing it in such a light. You're highlighting these types of relationships, and you're showing how it is different and yet equally beautiful. That's the thing. That's not what's happening here. They're just simply saying a character can be gay and that's okay. Like, that's really what they're saying. They're like, welcome to another episode of Retraction. I'm your co-host, Antoine.
And I'm your co-host, Jamie. And before we get started, folks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe your favorite episode or clip on YouTube.
Jamie. What do you think I've got
Antoine,
going on today?
it's your episode today, my friend.
It's our episode. It's all our episodes. It's the world's episode, the listeners' episode, my episode, your episode, the dog's episode. It's the episode for us all. Here's what I've got going on today. Have you watched the movie Strange World?
The cartoon.
The cartoon, yeah.
I did, and but not, funny enough, not straight through and not paying attention the whole time, which is rare because usually those movies with my kids, I do watch it straight through. That one just didn't make it yet.
What do you mean by those movies? What about just an animated film?
Animated, like Disney movies. Yeah, we watch. I mean, Disney Plus. I've seen everything on there 20 times over. This particular one, I think, is a little advanced for my kids right now, and I'm sure they're getting into it. They're just really getting into like Big Hero 6 and Ron's Gone Wrong. So I think they're going to graduate to that one soon. Like the new Buzz Lightyear movie is a little too advanced for them. They're not really gravitating towards it yet.
Okay, that makes sense. I was actually surprised. So my daughter loves it. She's 2, and and I mean, I hear what you're saying, because it's not it's not like a baby movie. So it is quite surprising that she.
It does have bright colors and stuff. It's still got all those elements.
It does, but it's definitely, it's a little. It is a little highfalutin. I mean, spoiler alert. The movie is it's teaching biology. I mean, it's a spoiler, kind of, but at the end of the day, it is a huge biology lesson, which is it's not overt about it until the end. You realize, oh yeah, this all makes sense now. But you definitely start catching what they're putting down if you're an adult watching this movie.
I will also say that they don't have the ancillary media, the spin-offs or the merchandising that some of the other ones have. So you don't have the kids saying, it's him or it's her or whatever it may be, and really have that attachment. It's almost like when a toy line comes out and they have a cartoon with it, right? Like you don't have the songs that some of the other movies have, and you don't have the Disney on Ice or the merchandising or the clips in the YouTube videos or the spin-off movies. So there's, it just has a lot of competition right now, but I'm sure we'll run out of other things and we're going to get back to that.
No, well, here's the thing. You should, because I think it's a fantastic movie. I mean, I really love it. I love that she gravitated towards it because in my head, it went almost straight to Disney Plus. That was a bit of a controversy with the movie when it first came out. I remember that. That's the thing. It's been in the news recently, and I'm going to get to why. But first, I'll cover the controversy that I was remembering with Strange World, because when she first put it on, I was like, this is really cool. It's kind of progressive. Definitely
the
animated movie, and I was happy Disney made it. A little begrudged at the beginning with the way they treated it, because I felt like you have this cool progressive family, you've got these progressive themes that are going on in the movie, and then I felt like instead of a theatrical release, the thing just went straight to Disney Plus. It was like they just skipped dealing with with movie theaters and just put it on streaming. But that's not necessarily true. So I did have a cool article on Deadspin from back when it was released, which is like 2022. So it's actually didn't release that long ago.
It's got to be a like half a year or something like that, because we saw it when it first. I mean, the day it came out on Disney Plus is when we watched it. The one and only time.
I feel like it was almost a simultaneous release. Could be wrong about that, so definitely check me in the comments if you want to. Exclusive Deadspin, they wrote, in step with domestic, Walt Disney Animation Studio, Strange World will make its offshore theatrical debut and is eyeing an overseas start in the 21 million to 29 million range. That's lower than where a new animated movie from Disney might normally kick off, but the studio has taken a voluntary pass on more than 20 markets, choosing not to submit the film in countries where its LGBTQ plus content would have very likely forced demands for edits. Strange World features a key character, Ethan, who has a crush on another boy in the movie. This is an inherent part of the storyline. Unwilling to make any edits that would impact storytelling, Disney thus made the preemptive decision not to submit the movie to censorship authorities where they may have been challenges. I would say it's not. I think that's a little much. I don't think this person actually watched the movie. It's not. Disney was saying it's integral to the storyline. You really could omit it, and the movie would be just as is. As far as I like that they included it. I think it's really cool. But honestly, all the character does is admit that they have a crush on a guy, and then in the very last, like maybe 2 minutes of the movie, there is a hug. And I think that's about it. That's
There was
all.
there wasn't any emotional turmoil or any
Mm-mm.
emotional
Yeah, there's emotional
distress.
turmoil among the family, but it has
No, but
nothing to do with the
nothing to
relationship.
do with that relationship. No
Nope, nothing.
awkwardness. Nothing. I
Nope.
thought I remember something,
There
but it might have been
yeah.
fleeting.
Well,
So
it is. It is. Yeah, the character is a little awkward dealing with the fact that their father is so interested in their relationship. So it's again, it's not that's the thing. I didn't feel like it was a particularly gay relationship. Like it didn't feel anything untoward or different. If the character were in love with a girl at that age, you would have had the exact same type of reaction. The embarrassment
so
of your family, of your dad trying to talk to the girl you have a crush on. I felt like it was almost a 1-to-1 in terms of that scenario. Like I did that's the thing. I didn't feel like it was in particular saying
so
uh that this is very different
I was
than
gonna
your
say it's nice
normal.
to have representation,
Oh,
right? And
absolutely. That's the thing. That's what I
but
liked about it.
you're saying that it felt gratuitous.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know what that's not at all. It
Okay, so
was
that's
not.
not what you're saying. Like
No, I'm saying it
you're
was
saying
so
they
light.
should have done more. Right? That's what I
Yes,
mean. Like not
correct.
gratuitous in a maybe gratuitous is the wrong word, but like a shallow gesture.
No, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't want to take anything away from it because again, this is a PG movie. Okay.
Well, that's my next thing was going to be like, what do you,
Yeah. How much can
how
you do?
hard should they lean into it?
I mean,
Anything really.
I mean, here's the thing: G-rated movies. You've got what is it? Sleeping Beauty. You've got the prince is kissing the princess. You have
Well, that's pretty controversial now, right?
well because she can't consent. That is
Yeah.
the controversial. That's the controversial one. Fine, but there are other G-rated movies where there are kisses between the love interests. So it's not like this is crazy. We don't live in some sort of
Well, True Love's Kiss, right? I mean, that's a
there
whole
you
thing.
go. That's where it comes
Yeah.
from. Exactly. Yeah. And what Shrek is G rated. I think the trolls they kiss in that movie at some point, either at the ending or to. In fact, they have to kiss in order for Fiona
Well, there
to
is always, I mean,
get her
that's a really good point.
true self.
There's always a romancing
Yes, that's what I'm
element.
getting
You
at.
have Aladdin, Lion King, and all those
Yeah,
Disney princess movies. There's a romancing, there's a courting,
I
there's
feel
songs around it, right? There's
I feel there's more sexual tension in the Lion King than there are in almost any Disney related movies
I
because
mean,
you've
they
got
get in a fight
the
right
fight.
after they get in a fight right after they romanced each other.
No, they get into a fight.
No, they do because they sing that song.
Yeah, but
I
that's
can see
on
what's
the
happening, right?
but that's
And
on the
they sing,
back of the she pins him, I think, right?
no,
Is they're wrestling.
she pins him when she goes after Timon and Pumbaa,
Oh,
and
that's
he
right.
comes and saves them. Then they do their little can't you
Yeah,
feel
feel
the
the
love
love tonight.
tonight,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And then she's like, you need to come back to Pride Rock. And he was like, you don't know me. You can't come in here and tell me what to do. And then they run away, and then he meets Rafiki and sees his father in the
Okay.
water and sky. So
Okay.
that's how that goes. But
Well, I felt like there
but
was that moment where they're like on top of one another. Don't you remember that?
yeah, that's when they're playing during the song.
Yeah, well,
They
you
do
call it
that.
playing. I mean, that's how I
Well,
mean.
no,
I'm
they, I
just
mean, we
saying
all know
it's
what
there's a
that
little
is,
bit of
but
this
I'm
is
saying they fight right after the romancing. They get
yeah,
in an
okay,
argument
fine.
right after. But it was
All I'm saying is that there is literally more like actual touching between in any other Disney movie you've ever watched in your life than there is in Strange World between the main character and his love interest.
so
So
you
yeah,
you respect the representation and that it made that first leap into this that not a lot of others, if any, have
Correct.
done, but
Correct.
feel they could have done more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at the time, I was a little critical because I was like, you're basically allowing these markets to dictate what kind of movie we as Americans want to make. And the thing is, they're kind of not. So I was being unfair to them at that time. They decided not to be in these markets because they would have had to edit the movie. They could have edited the movie. So to their credit, they said we're going to lose the money as opposed to just taking the guy character and making it a girl. And what I'm also saying is that very well could have been done because that's how non-integral this character being gay happened to has to do with the plot. It has almost nothing to do with the plot. It's more of a we just want to show a diverse something that's a little different, and so we're adding it to this movie. But if the character were straight, it would not change anything with regard to how the movie plays out. That's also what I'm trying to get at. Does that make sense? So I'm saying they
Yeah,
could
I
have
guess because
easily swapped
I'm
it.
trying, what I wanted to counter was you could do that with any movie and it would integrally change, but there is always some anchor, like either the princess element and having a
Yes.
relationship to the royal
Yeah,
family, or
that's exactly
Cinderella
right.
had a glass slipper. Like, I guess there's always some
That's not
gender
necessarily true.
specific
Yes. That
thing
lock you
that,
into genders. Yeah, gender identity.
yeah,
Absolutely. I don't think that that's true at all in most Disney movies. That's also what I'm trying to get at. The plot of the love aspect in a Disney movie usually is quite integral to the plot. You can't simply just switch Cinderella and make Cinderella a dude and have him. I mean, yes, guys can wear glass slippers, no doubt about that. That's a. But my point is, you're really altering that storyline. You're really saying that this is something different. You're showing a completely different nuance to the human condition. You've got to, exactly, with a man who is wearing a glass slipper. I'm just saying it makes a different kind of statement. In this movie, if you took this character and made it a woman or the love interest a woman, the whole movie would have just played the same. There's literally nothing you'd had to
yeah,
change to
there's
do it.
not a dynamic shift. There's not a reinterpretation of a
Exactly.
mythology or
Right.
a fairy tale. Like there's no, because this is a new story. This isn't based on anything. So
No,
it's
it's
like
not. Well, I
original
mean, everything
IP, right?
has. Yeah, it's
But it's
not.
but
But
it's original IP. It's not like a
yes,
retelling of an
gotcha.
old tale,
That's
right? It's
exactly
not
right.
Cinderella.
That's exactly right.
Um, so that, yeah, I guess they actually had, I mean, I was gonna say they had more leeway to take more. I don't want to call it risk, but they to lean into this harder, where
They could
it
have
wouldn't it wouldn't
easily.
have been such a reinterpretation, because there's no interpretation. This is net new.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah,
But
that's the other
they
thing. They
played it super
definitely had
safe.
they had runway to take this as far as possible because here's the other thing. If you've made the decision that you're not going to push it into the markets, it was like basically it's the Middle East, Russia, China. You're not going to push it into those markets, so you're already taking a loss, which means you could have gone much further, right? Because you're
Yeah.
giving this to an American audience that's supposed to be more receptive. That's not supposed to be so draconian with regard to how we view one another, and we're supposed to be more respectful, and supposedly we're more enlightened as a democratic accepting immigrant, accepting all faiths, accepting society. They could have gone much further. Exactly, they could have made it more affirming that this character being gay is integral to the storyline. Like, you cannot switch out this character's relationship because this gay relationship is you're showing it in such a light. You're highlighting these types of relationships, and you're showing how it is different and yet equally beautiful. That's the thing. That's not what's happening here. They're just simply saying a character can be gay and that's okay. Like, that's really what they're saying. They're like, he's gay, he's okay. He's a normal. He's like a quote unquote normal kid with normal kid problems. His parents embarrass him. He's trying to figure out who he wants to be. His future and all these things. He just happens to be gay. That's really what you're getting it down to. He just happens to be gay.
I mean, is that bad in itself then? Because when you phrase it
No,
like
no,
that,
because it doesn't. Everything
it's
doesn't.
kind of normalizing in a way, and that's valuable, isn't
You
it?
could say, I would say that if we had more stories like it, sure, but the fact that
That's
you're
fair.
you're tipping your toe into the pool, and you're being very tepid in that dipping, so that's sort of where I'm
I guess
where I
that's how you could look at it. Were
yeah,
they being ultra cautious, or were
I
they
think so.
driving home? We're all the same, regardless of orientation or identity. It doesn't matter.
I
We
feel
all
like
have the same problems. We all have we're more alike
Yeah.
than different type thing.
Definitely that mentality of we're more alike than different, which is problematic in itself. But that's like I feel like a conversation for a different podcast, a different thing. Because I feel like they also had the parents of this kid. This kid is biracial, so his parents, his mom is black, his dad is white. I felt like they were like we're throwing so many we're throwing so many what do you call it uh, sort of uh, deterrence, or we're basically poking the conservative uh canon, the conservative base of this country as is. We don't want to push either one too far. So again, the characters being interracial doesn't have anything to do with the plot. It's just they're just throwing it in as if it's just a normal thing. They're just like, well, it's the people marry people outside their race. That's just the
I
way
guess
it is.
there's
Some
also
people are gay. That's just the
I guess
way it
there's
is.
they're also the target audience, and what concepts would that audience grasp at the age? And I honestly don't know. I don't know
Mm.
at what age you come to realize who you
Yeah,
are in
yeah,
a way,
yeah. I'm
and
with yeah,
does that match up with who's actually watching this, and how heavy or light do you go, because what will be lost? I mean, I know that families watch this, so you have all ages,
yeah,
so
yeah.
there's that too. But if you're like a teen, or is a teen watching this, or is it,
No, because it's PG. It's not PG-13, where it's so
I mean,
it's
you
under
said you
the age
watch
of
it with a 2-year-old. Now I know that that's
yeah,
probably the younger side. So if you're
yeah.
even 5 or 6, like when do you start grasping that higher level storyline?
There are nuanced ways to do it. I'm not, but again, that's not really my critique of this movie. I wanted to get into this backstory because I just wanted to highlight how innocuous these things really are in this. Like the fact that the press, the fact that this was a big deal at the time for these markets is because that speaks to the way those markets treat being homosexual, being LGBTQ. Like that's those markets, more a reflection on that. I'm just saying that this movie was not pushing any message really. It's like you said, it's taking the vein of, oh, look at this. It could be very normal. Like people can be gay and it's just like that's just what they are. There's nothing different about it. So it's in that normalcy vein. I'm putting a lot of quotes here because I'm like, what is normal? Normal is uh, like it's an ideal. It's like a conservative ideal that never really existed. So but they're playing in that space. They're playing in this space of like, hey, right, people have feelings for different types of people. They just happen to like who they like, and that's
And
really what
everyone
it's.
fights with their dad.
Yes, exactly. Everyone fights with their dad, and then basically their grandfather, and it's a pylon of like not interracial inter generational relationships, because that's really the crux of the story. The story is really about intergenerational relationships, male relationships specifically between a father, his father, and a grandson. That's what the story is really about. That's the crux of it. So everything else is attributes. It's dressing. It's just like it's backstory just to give the story a little bit more color, but it's not integral to the plot. The reason I'm talking about Strange World, because again, that was a year ago. So times have passed, times have gone on, but it came on my radar May 15th. Guess what happened? Florida teacher, this is a CNN article. Florida teacher says she is under investigation after showing fifth grade class Disney movie with gay character.
I heard this.
Okay.
I
Jenna
heard this.
Barbie is a teacher in Hernando County's Winding Waters K through 8 school. This is her saying this on TikTok. I am the teacher that's under investigation with the Florida Department of Education for indoctrination for showing a Disney movie. According to Barbie, a parent then complained and reported her to the State Department of Education. The parent who reported her, who is also a member of the Hernando County School District Board, complained to the principal about the movie not being appropriate for students. Yesterday, this is the statement they actually released. The school released. Yesterday, the Disney movie Strange World was shown in your child's classroom, the school district said. While not the main plot of the movie, parts of the story involves a male character having and expressing feelings for another male character. In the future, this movie will not be shown. The school administration and the district's professional standards department is currently reviewing the matter to see if further corrective action is required.
It's so bonkers. I mean, this is just part of humanity. Like you're denying the existence of a
Yeah,
whole group of people. It's just
yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
crazy.
I don't know what to say. This goes back to the book banning,
Yeah, right. Which we've
targeting
covered. Yeah.
community, and a number of communities.
Hmm.
It just what I mean, what is the fear that you are going to turn people and you don't want them to turn? Like I just it's such a weird.
It's
It's
weird that
it's so
teaching
insecure.
it's weird that teaching history, because remember this is also part of the history discussion. It's weird that teaching facts and reality are too much for the minds of our fragile children. It's like you cannot allow them to know what exists in the real world, because if
It's
you do, it will corrupt them. They need to
it's just the
learn.
parents' insecurity. The kids don't care.
Well, of course
The
the kids
kids are
don't
just
care. The
accepting it,
kids are
right?
accepting, of course, of
Yeah, of
course.
course.
Yeah.
What do they know? I mean, why would they think any different? This exists. These people are real. I mean, you just said it, like denying the reality.
Let me
Because the
yeah.
parents feel uncomfortable because
Yeah.
they were brought up a certain way. And it's that, but then also, why do the parents have micromanaging empowerment over what schools do? I mean, that's again, it goes back to like, why do we even have these institutions?
There's no point. There's no point in teachers at this point. Every parent should just take a like a week. Like this is just we should just
No
put
one needs
this.
a degree.
Well, no one needs a degree, and every parent should just teach school for a week or so. Like you just rotate out like a little like a commune kind of thing. At
Yeah,
this
just like
point, there's
the
literally no
PTA or the
yeah
class mom, right?
yeah.
Go ahead,
There's
go in,
literally no
do it
reason for a teacher at this point, because if the parents know what is best to be taught and shown in class at all times, then parents
for
should just teach.
everyone. For
Yeah.
everyone, one person complains and now it's off for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, at this point, yeah, that I think that you could completely make this argument for these types of areas. I mean, this is basically what they're trying to make the argument. It's like, what is the point of employing a babysitter essentially to watch your children while you're away? Because they have to do exactly as you deem the education to have been, you with no education degree, no experience teaching.
Well, that's another thing. Who is
It's
this person?
crazy.
Who is this model citizen, this pinnacle of the human species that we all have to aspire to be, that is dictating to everyone else what's right and wrong and acceptable and unacceptable? Who is this specimen?
I don't know. I don't know. I will finish this part here because this is I think this is also important. The complaint is part of Florida's controversial legislation signed last year by Governor Ron DeSantis, big old Ronnie boy, banning certain instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity in the classroom. DeSantis and other supporters pushed the measure as a form of parental rights. That's what we've been discussing. While opponents said it's tried to erase LGBTQ people from schools and dubbed the law Don't Say Gay. If there's ever a moment where that is in full frontal, like in your face, this is one of them where this isn't even the lesson. The thing is that the movie wasn't actually the lesson. The movie was being given to a half empty classroom after a day of standardized testing as a means for the kids to relax.
Oh, we all know what that is. We have all seen movies. You put your head on your desk and you go to sleep. The lights get turned out.
Yeah, that's exactly what was happening here. So it's and that is the issue. And the fact that the movie happened to have characters in it who expressed feelings, not acted on them, just expressed the very feeling of wanting to be in a relationship with the same sex, that is now banned. How wild. And I feel like that's inappropriate. That's just it. Because here's the thing: there's a kid in that class. This is a fifth. Here's the thing: if this was a second grade class or something much younger, like you said, like my daughter, she doesn't understand relationships. She doesn't know same sex. Like she doesn't understand these things. She's too young for that. If you're in fifth grade, you're starting to develop these feelings. You're starting to have understandings of boys, girls, starting to explore your the beginning feelings of like, wanting to tell a girl that you like them or a guy, vice versa. So you have a kid in that class who is gay, 100% guaranteed. I can 100% guarantee in the school, at least in the fifth grade, someplace there is a fifth grader that is listening to this that is gay and is being told that something about them is wrong. The movie you put on, they were like, that was really cool. You're telling them that it's not okay for them to be exactly who they are. That's so messed up. From like I was saying, as an educator, as a educational institution that's supposed to be molding and protecting children, the harm you are doing to a child so innocuous just by putting on a movie with representation for someone that is like them, and you're telling them that something about them is not right.
Because that's what they believe.
That's crazy. Yeah, but
That's what they believe. I mean, that whole bill is the reason why, coincidentally, ironically enough, he's at DeSantis is fighting Disney.
right.
I
Well,
mean,
yes.
that's the whole reason.
That's the
Disney
reason to fight.
came out and said that bill is no good.
Right.
And now there's this big turf war.
Yeah.
And this Disney movie just happened to bring it all out again.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean, I
I
think
don't.
that this parent is probably also taking, like, the board is taking their moment to ingratiate them, most likely, to DeSantis, to say, hey, we're with you. We're doing this fight. We're
Well, that's what
banning.
happened with what we covered on the other episode with the Statue of David.
Yes. Well, oh man,
And that was
yeah,
and they deemed that to be pornographic.
pornographic. Yeah.
And two parents complained to the school, got the principal fired.
Yeah.
And the guy that made the decision was like a DeSantis crony,
Right.
at the head of the Board of Education or whatever it was, and said, like, yeah, we're going to be on the front lines of enacting DeSantis's policies and vision. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. They are just trying to suck up to this maniac in charge of Florida.
It's not democratic. The other thing too, I think, is all these things feel very like the way that we describe authoritarianism. Though
How does one? I said this to you during the book banning, and you're like, "What's the process?" And I'm like, "Apparently, you're just a professional book banner, and you go to the town meeting when everyone else is at work, and you just request or you make these demands, and it happens because there's no one there to oppose you because everyone's at work, and you have this person who goes to the principal or whoever it is,
Yeah.
makes a complaint.
Well, they're on the board.
No
too.
one else is
They
there
have
to
some
counter
power.
it.
Right.
I'd be so curious to know if one parent was there, because what you have is one parent making a complaint, no one there to counter. I'd be curious to know what the rule is in this policy if one parent goes there, makes a complaint, and 25 others say, no, we want it.
Yeah.
Who wins then? Is it
I'm
just
sure it
one
gets
is enough?
Yeah, I'm sure it gets reversed. And again, that's the issue. It's do we have, as a society, we are so inundated with our work. Who has the time to fight these little battles? You just let them go. You're like, I don't have time for this.
You're not even aware. It's not like, oh, someone made a request
Well,
today. Let's
this
send
became
out
national
a town.
news.
Let's send a town. No, but not. And when it happened, it's not
right,
like,
yes, I
oh,
hear you saying.
there was an anonymous complaint about whatever, a book, a movie, whatever. Before we take action, we need to make sure everyone's aware of this.
Yeah.
Get everyone's vote. At least give them the opportunity to do that. Not, I'm going to act on this. Oh, no one else came to my office today. I guess she speaks for everyone. Like, it's just an absurd way of going about it.
You want to hear something even more interesting? In that article, the teacher said that she actually gave out permission slips before showing the movie.
Well, that's infuriating then.
Well, she didn't say if she named the movie. She gave permission slips to say that they'll be watching a PG movie. I don't know if she did name it, but
yeah, but I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah,
that has to be a precedent must have been set. She didn't make that up. That's probably a thing where you have to say, I'm going to show a PG-13, an R, which probably never happens.
That's not
like, I'm going to show,
well,
because we saw Saving Private Ryan, clips of that in school when that came out.
I'm sure you were not in fifth grade.
No, but you still had a, like, I think I want to say a notification went home in that. No, I was high school, I believe, or middle school or something, but
high school.
Probably high school. But that was shown. But my point is that process is already in place. So what about a PG movie that is based on a rating system that is that's the rating system.
That's the rating system. That's
and
the
it's
American
acceptable before
system.
that. And
that's right.
If anything, this woman's fight, this parent's fight, should be with that rating agency.
Yeah.
If anything. And to change the rules of the rating agency, where if you don't fit into my cultural norms, then you don't get a PG rating, therefore it won't make it into the school. Because this teacher, all she has to go by is that rating system. I'm sure that's the policy. And then that fit that bill.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Not only that, but the thing is that rating system allows a fifth grader to go into a theater and buy a ticket and see this without a parent.
There you go.
So you don't need a teacher. I mean, this kid could go off walkable distance to a theater and just buy the ticket and see this movie.
Yeah, take your fight up with the movie agency and see where you get.
Go after Hollywood. Leave the teachers alone.
See where you get. It's just it's so dumb. It's so, but we're a dumb country, so it makes sense.
At least we allow ourselves to be ruled by outliers. And I think that that's part of the like you said, that the crux of it is that I bet you if you polled the majority of parents for that class or that school, they would have been like, yeah, Strange World's cool. I love the representation. I think that was really nice. I just have to go to work right now. I don't have time to show up to the school to ensure that they're
Appreciate the text.
yeah.
Thanks for the text.
Thanks for the
It's
text.
cool. Approved.
Exactly. I'm in a meeting. I don't have time to go to the school to fight that this particular movie can be shown on days where standardized tests. They're more worried about how their kids are doing on the standardized test as opposed to going in and saying, hey, what movie are you watching afterwards?
Wow. That's infuriating.
Ronnie
Good luck,
Boy
Florida.
strikes again.
Good luck, Florida.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Trying to usher in daylight savings, permanently putting the rest of the world in darkness, and then you're trying to put the rest of the world in darkness with your policies. They're just darkening the world one policy at a time. Look at that.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I can't. I just like what year is it? Like what year is this? And we're man, the movies from the 80s got it so wrong. They just got it wrong. We were supposed to be so much further ahead by now.
I know we're supposed to have that flying skateboard,
The hover,
yeah.
the hoverboard,
the hoverboard. Yeah, the hoverboard.
we don't forget flying cars. We don't even have a hoverboard.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, that was why one issue. I will actually do have an amendment to that too. So I buy a lot of art books because I like to dabble. And the funny thing is I was thinking about the segment on David because I was like, that's so bizarre. This is a Renaissance masterpiece loved by the world over to censor it and call it pornographic. It's like, what is this, 1952? But if you go on Amazon and you look at because figure drawing is about anatomy and drawing the human body. Those books have naked, anatomically correct sketching because that's what figure drawing is about. There are tons of negative reviews on Amazon for almost every figure drawing book in existence, with people complaining that there are naked people in the book. There are people who are like, I want to learn to draw, and I'm annoyed. Like, they're like, I bought this for my 11-year-old, and there are naked people in here. 1 star. I'm like, well, maybe you need, before you let your 11-year-old embark on the art of drawing, you need to understand what art is and understand that nudity that's part of the human condition. That's
rip the page out. Rip the page out.
Oh, they did. No, there are pictures of people ripping the pages out, complaining that they had to rip all these pages out for their child not to understand their own body. I'm just saying, you're doing a disservice as a culture. You're doing a disservice to children by telling them that their body is dirty and wrong. That's not right. That's not the way. I'm just saying, look, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say it out there. Give me the feedback, the negative reviews or whatever on YouTube. That's just the way it is. If you treat your children's bodies and you treat bodies in general like they are wrong, you are injuring their mental capacity in the way that they are going to look at themselves and the way they're going to feel about themselves. You're stunting it. We have no problem giving our kids guns. We have no problem showing them immense amounts of violence. We think that that's awesome. That has repercussions. Treating sexuality and the body is as if they are taboo is far more injurious to our society.
You're absolutely right. You have violence is everywhere. It's in kids' cartoons. It's in superhero stuff.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Violence is so normalized.
Acceptable. Violence is everything. You can be violent, you can kill, but you cannot love. Love is dangerous and should be censored and should be given to the appropriate age, which is an age where it's too old to learn to love.
I want to know in any movie for kids, anything, I want to know the punch to kiss ratio.
Oh my God.
How many punches, how many kisses?
Oh, even Strange World. I mean, Strange World doesn't have a single. I mean, it has one kiss between
I'll do a hug. A hug, holding hands, something intimate, something that's not violent.
There are 2 or 3 moments of that, and I would say ballpark conservative 50 acts of violence in a PG movie, which is,
I mean that's an interesting way to look at storytelling. To understand the human condition, like categorize mentions or scenes like that. And I don't know if there's anything besides love and violence, but how many acts of love, how many acts of violence? See who we really are.
Now, granted, the point of the movie is that we should be kinder and we should be less violent. So that the movie does have that underlying theme of being kind is greater than being violent.
But you
But
only get the kindness through violence, Antoine.
exactly. You can't have light without the dark. Except half of the movie, 70% of the
You
movie's
need
in
the
the dark.
contrast. Yeah.
You need contrast, right? But and they're like the light shines brightest at what is it, at the dawn? Like it's like after
Yeah.
immense amounts of darkness. That's when the light shines the brightest. Basically, that's where we are. And you know me, I always come after that. I come after it all the time about our society. I just don't. I think it's wild. I think it's absolutely insane that when you're looking at art books, like I'm talking about art books that have been old art books that were made in the 1800s, people are one starring them because they're like, why are there naked people in them? Because as prude as Victorian English society happened to have been, for some reason, they allowed naked bodies. That was fine. Naked bodies, naked people in a 19th century art book, perfectly acceptable. The Renaissance, even further back, naked people, perfectly acceptable. A period where proclaiming that the world was round could have gotten you killed. That's how that's how anti-progressive that society was. A couple of naked boobs, naked some genitalia, perfectly fine. They're like that's nothing. We all have that. It's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah,
It's just it's
that's how
crazy.
far we've come. That's what's so funny. That's how far we've come.
We're never getting hoverboards.
No, no, we're not. No, we're not. Not unless we give Elon more money. Maybe if we
Oh
invest
God.
in X, Elon will say he'll grant the Mars colony some hoverboards. Do you want another topic? You want another little slice of life?
Let's do it.
Cool. So this one actually was given to me by a listener, but I noticed that you had also liked it on Twitter. Do you know
Oh,
what I'm referring to?
I like a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah, I know. The IRS is testing free e-filing system that compete with tax prep giants.
Oh, and this is recent, and I actually remember my comment to them. It
Yeah.
was, or the government could do its own taxes and send us a receipt.
Which I was really annoyed by that we only got like 5 likes on that because honestly, out of everything that people were saying, I was like, I granted maybe I am a little biased because we are of a closer mind doing the show together, but I was like that is where we should be. Everyone was just like, oh man, give it the TurboTax, screw the corporations, and it's like, no, wait, no. You're all missing the point. We shouldn't have to do this at all. That we should just get a bill. I like that one guy. I didn't bring him up. We should have given him a shout out. I like that he commented and said, he was like, what was it? We check your work. It's like instead of you
Yeah,
checking ours,
he's a frequent commenter,
I
hopefully a
like that.
frequent
I was like, but
listener.
that's
Yeah,
good. I was like, that's the kind of momentum I feel like we need here. It's like, why are we doing homework? It's it's not about who's
they have all the information. It's
exactly.
all government information. My source material is from the government.
Exactly. And they're just saying, can you do it correctly? We're not going to do it for you, but we will penalize you if you do it wrong. We know what the right answer is. Like, we know what the number is. We're not going to tell you, but we know. And if you don't give us the same matching number, we come after you. What kind of system is that? That's
It's
so
bizarre.
weird.
I
That's
got
the
nothing.
craziest thing in the world.
It is so bizarre. Um, I don't know what this free filing thing is.
Well,
The
all right.
thing
So
is like so like because it's not like every like TurboTax and stuff, they offer this free stuff, but if your taxes are fairly complicated, like you need help unless you're really
yeah. This is for simplistic tax returns, which is for the majority. That, to be fair, the majority of people need simple tax returns, so it's not like it's the minority that would need to hire a tax person and get that done professionally. That's a minority thing. Um,
great.
yeah.
So now they can do it themselves. Great. But I guess
Well, you could
this goes in,
always technically
this goes
file.
into other like this goes into other areas like because it comes out a lot with like gun violence and stuff. But why doesn't anyone ever ask? Because does everyone just think we are at the top of everything? Does anyone ever ask, well, what do other people do in other countries? How do other countries handle this? Like,
No, you
why
never
is that
go do that.
never a question? ever.
Well, it is for some people, but then you're viewed as unpatriotic. So no, that's never asked.
Like when we're at work or something and someone wants to do something, like you ask, like, oh, does anyone else working on this, something like this? Like this, do I have to? There's a phrase for that. I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Reinvent the wheel. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do we ever ask that question?
No, clearly we think that we've always been the wheel maker, and no one
Yeah,
else
we're
knows
just
how.
that
No one else.
innovative.
That's exactly right. Now here's the thing. The that's all. This is all actually interesting conversation. I definitely was like, I would have that conversation. What I was annoyed by is the Washington Post headline originally, because they actually changed it. You haven't looked at
Oh no.
you haven't looked at this. The original headline. So what I read, I'm going to read that again just for contrast for the listener. But the original headline, the new headline is this. It says IRS tests free e-filing system that could compete with tax prep giants. That's the current headline if you click into this article. When you commented on the article, the headline was the Internal Revenue Service has quietly built its own prototype system to allow Americans to file tax returns digitally and free of charge, according to three current and former agency officials, essentially creating government software that could disrupt the tax prep industry. Was that the hold on? Was that the original title? Hold on. Yeah, that was the original title.
Okay. I mean, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, I know that was a mouthful. Well, at least that was the title that was thrown on to on Twitter. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that the I didn't like the way that this was positioned, because it's weird to say the IRS is quietly building a government software system, because I feel like those are like dog whistle is not the right terminology for that, but you definitely know what you're doing, what kind of imagery you're trying to evoke in this culture, because you're definitely evoking imagery of China, draconian governments, secret.
Yeah, quietly is a weird way of phrasing that.
It's so bizarre to phrase it that way. And then you're saying disrupt the tax prep industry, as if the tax prep industry is something that is like necessary and doing a
Yeah,
good thing.
it's like a
You're
cornerstone of our civilization. We
exactly
won't
like
survive without it.
we're all happy with TurboTax. Like we all want to pay exorbitant amounts of money to do something incredibly simple. So the fact that the government is going to come in and just disrupt this cornerstone of our civilization, who's the government think it is? That was also weird. So I was like, that's very leading. That's very leading, and especially because if you read past that, it goes they say so they've positioned it as the government is secretly doing something, and then they two paragraphs down they go, last year's Inflation Reduction Act, one of President Biden's chief legislative victories, included $15 million for the IRS to look into creating a direct filing program. So you have a secret thing that government's working on that was a cornerstone of the Inflation Reduction Act, right? Which is open and public to anybody. You could look into that to say what are the main aspects of it, and one of them is $15 million for the IRS to create a direct filing program. So what's quiet about that? What's secret about that?
Yeah, they're not making a big splash. I'm assuming that they're not coming out and saying, look, go here, use it, because they're developing it. And they probably didn't do a big PR campaign yet. Nothing was announced yet. If it was in the bill and they're just got funding, they're probably just getting started, and they're not really focusing on communicating that yet. As someone who like does run projects, I'd be pretty annoyed if I just started and then someone was critiquing me saying that I was being secretive because I didn't come out with something yet. And I'm like, dude, we're not there yet.
And there was one more
It
little,
just seems like a hack job from the journalist.
and then here's one little dig here as well, where here's they listen to this, like four more little like two sentences down, because you can't call these paragraphs essentially. Uh, they write, the tax agency tapped the left-leaning New America think tank to study a direct filing system and produce a report, which is expected this week. What does the orientation of a think tank have anything to do with sort of getting in a
Yeah,
system
the
for
left
reporting.
leaning. I mean, that isn't like what would a right leaning one do?
That's
Just say
exactly what's the
it's not worth
difference.
it. Let's not do it.
That's
Like,
what I'm saying. Like, why are you making like what kind of call does that make? I mean, look, you could say that that's being a little like too much. It's like fine, they just maybe maybe we always do this because the thing is, usually when I read about a think tank, someone does mention whether they are left leaning or right leaning, as if it matters. There's no freaking difference. People wake up, but but sure
well,
for this for this for just to stoke those fires of division, this is left leaning, and it's like a left leaning government initiative that's been quietly assembled in order to allow people to file their taxes without having to pay any money. Considering, again, the government has all this information, they're just looking for you to agree with them. Why would you need to pay the government? You're already paying them your taxes. Why do you have to pay them more money? First of all, if you did have to pay the government or pay anyone to do your taxes, that's a tax on a tax. That's just another tax. That's a tax to file your taxes. The government's taxing you to file your taxes. That if they made you pay for it, that's what that would be. So if a right leaning conservative take is like, well, maybe we should be charged to do this, all they're asking for is more money. They're saying we should tax people more money just to file taxes, which is
yeah, you're
that's
paying a
crazy.
surcharge. You're doing a surcharge.
That's all there is
It's,
to it.
oh, I'll take your taxes to the government if you pay me.
Exactly. Right. And the government's saying, no, let's dispense with that, which is,
You're paying the
thank
sheriff
God,
of Nottingham.
for the pleasure of their company.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
as he goes around from hut to hut, hovel to hovel,
Yeah,
collecting
collecting taxes.
taxes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, that was part of my little ire here. I had to get it out. It was a little rant. It was like a mini rant, and I couldn't believe it. The reason I'm more annoyed about it too is that the Washington Post positions itself as a progressive newspaper. For most people, they if you just think about it, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the Washington Post, they're so progressive." Look, they're owned by a billionaire. I would usually say, yeah, but does Jeff Bezos really weigh in on what the Washington Post does in its day to day? Now I'm starting to say maybe people are higher at the top that do, because I'm like, this is very anti-government in a way. This positioning. So I'm like,
I mean, it's the secret. It's the combination of things because the secretive does put a negative slant on it, unless they're being like coy or in like a playful way. But in combination with some of the other wording, it's troubling because even if you were to say left leaning, that could almost be looked as a validator to say it's progressive to want to do taxes this way, although we know that it should be taken way further and the government should be doing it entirely. But okay, a left-leaning think tank came up with this, so you know it's going to be legit because this is a progressive initiative type thing. Like I could see them trying to play it that way.
listen to another paragraph. This is my last one. The system of commercial programs for online filing has served taxpayers and the government well by many accounts. Roughly 9 in 10 individual tax returns were filed digitally in 2022, the IRS reported. The U.S. voluntary tax compliance rate, the proportion of filers who pay federal taxes accurately each year, of 85.1%, is one of the highest among developed economies, according to years of research in the United States and Europe.
Voluntary. What does that mean?
That might be technical. I hear what you're saying. It's not voluntary. I feel like that
You,
might be.
you go to jail.
I know. I guess that's your option. Either don't do it. You don't have to do it.
That's not voluntary. That I don't
Well,
even
the
understand
thing I
that.
was more about was the system of commercial programs for online filing has served taxpayers, the government well by many accounts. I'm like,
Well, that's
okay,
taking a side, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So I mean, look, it's not the most interesting
Well,
of
I'd be curious to
events
know
to
that
be like the
comparison
media's
too,
biased, but
compared to other countries, because I cannot believe that the Nordics don't have a higher rate than us because the government does it unless
oh
they're
yeah,
deficient in their thing. Is this
this
only
is
in comparison to other countries that
yeah,
where the citizens have to do it
have to do their own
themselves?
taxes. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, well then
absolutely.
like cool.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. You cannot count a system where the government does it for you. That's 100%. It's 100% tax rate at that point. If the government is giving you a bill, they're just giving you a little card checking off what you paid this year and where your taxes were allocated, which is what I think most of the Nordic
Great. So
countries
we're
do,
like the
and
leader of the
Japan.
morons. Like we're the leader of the people who don't. We don't do it
That's
right.
how we always. That's how we always
Yeah,
mark ourselves. We're always the
that's
leader of
great.
the. Yeah, we're what is it? The idiocracy. We're always an idiocracy. We're the best of the worst. We're always the best of the worst. Anyway.
My God,
So anyway, yeah, I just had to bring it
that's some
up.
stellar journalism there.
It's not the sexiest piece. It's not the sexiest piece, but I thought it was important to just highlight because it irked me.
Did they
And
pay for that? Is that like a paid advertorial?
no, not at all. Or at least there's no notation on it demarcate it as such.
The
But all the
government or
comments
something?
are like screw big tax, screw like we're so happy, which is so funny. You have people who hate this like
Well, I guess it's a step in the
monopoly.
government taking more of a foothold in the industry. Like, I guess if you can't make
But what
a
foothold?
meteoric shift, then like, I guess this is like going in that direction. I mean, I don't know.
It's yes, that's what's so weird. We're treating it like the government is finally coming into a space that has been owned by private industry for years. We're literally treating it like they're nationalizing taxes. But how do you nationalize something that the government gives us
It
the bill? They are
taxes are the
it's the
national. That
government.
is a nationalized thing. It's
Exactly. How do you nationalize something that is the
you know,
government?
nationalize the military next. Like, what are you talking about?
That's well, exactly. If we got rid of like those
No,
uh,
but it's
contracts for those,
or
you
like
know,
nationalize the post office or like
yeah,
nationalize this is a government function. It doesn't.
yeah, they're just doing their job. They're taking up the appropriate role of doing the job of collecting taxes.
They had a deficient interface between citizen and government
That's
that was
exactly right.
void was filled by private industry,
Yep.
and now the government is looking to improve their connectors.
Because not only did private industry fill the void, but they filled it in a very inequitable way. They're charging people for things. They're charging people who could file their taxes for free fees and telling them that they're saving them money when they're not. And so it's yeah, it's not on the up and up. So it's not even that they filled the void; they filled it poorly. The government's stepping in and saying we need to be more active in collecting the money that is owed to us without having people double charged for doing so. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else going on here, people. That's what's happening. The government is right to do it. Screw these tax people, these freaking private companies. Boo hoo to these $1 billion companies leeching off of American people. They don't need to be here. They could go.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a very small step. I hear you. It's definitely not what people would want, but at least it's government taking more of a role. The thing that sucks about this is that this will be the only thing government does for a very long time. Like this, I can't imagine it's this, and then next year it's going to be another thing, and then like 5 years from now, the government will be sending us a receipt and doing our taxes for us. I feel
Yeah.
like if this is it, and then there will be no change in here until our grandkids. Because
Yeah, you might be right.
like because I mean, do you think differently? Do you think that this is going to have some like this is a catalyst for change that we're going to see rapid change?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think that
Or do you think it's going to flop entirely and the private industry is going to eat these people alive?
yeah, well, the government. I mean, they're good. The private industry is like vultures. They're waiting for the government. They're waiting for any moment. And I'm sure looks like the Washington Post is also waiting for this thing to fail and crash and burn, so that they can hop on the pile of bones and add fuel to this fire. I mean,
How are
yeah,
you going to advertise? I mean, we saw this on Twitter. I haven't seen it anywhere else before or since then.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's not
so,
a
but
landmark thing. Yeah,
granted, they're quietly working on it, so why would
so
we?
maybe that's what it is.
But once they come out, I mean, they're going to have to spend some serious ad dollars to compete with the H&R Blocks and TurboTax and all that kind of stuff. Like, what are they
Yeah,
going to do?
probably. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely they'll need a campaign of some sort. So let's see. I mean, yeah, it's messed up. It's messed up. The way we do taxes, again, why don't we talk about it? I did the whole thing with ChatGPT about like governmental bias and all the like. This is just all kit and caboodle part of it. In this country, it's all on you. No matter what you've done, you're always meant. It's like being a Catholic for everybody. It's guilt, guilt, guilt. You ran the red lights. You sped. You didn't pay your taxes properly. It's all on you. The government makes it so easy for you to do all these things wrong, and if you do it wrong, it's your fault. You did this. Government had nothing to do with it. Screw you. You're a bad person. You're a bad citizen. You should do better next time. It's always on you in this country. Everything's on you. You don't have health insurance. That's your fault. Uh, Kids can't watch Strange World at school. You shouldn't work so much. You should attend the school board meetings.
You should have That's the thing, though, about that. Going back to that, without a mechanism to alert parents of that complaint being made, whether it was the Statue of David, whether it's books, whether it's this video, this movie, people aren't going to proactively go to the principal and say, Strange World, nice job. I support that. In case anyone comes to complain, count me as a counter to them. Like, no one's going to do that unless they're aware of an issue.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile that? How is anyone ever supposed to win other than the complainer, the person with an agenda? You're supposed to just go out of your way to say that it's almost like this weird, bizarro micromanaging where you're complimenting and approving everything that the school does at every level, regardless of whether or not there's a complaint, just out of fear that someone may complain and it's taken away from you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do about that? I mean, that's ridiculous. You wouldn't do it, but without a mechanism to alert you to a complaint and to give you ample time and a means to counter it, you're out. You're out of luck.
Well, I mean, that's why we have a representative government. That's why it's not a direct democracy, because we don't have time to vote on everything.
But the principal didn't. I mean, they're not an elected official. Like, you go to complain to the principal fires a teacher or changes the curriculum. These people go to court to ban the books. You're not alerted to that. The judge makes a decision right then and there, I assume, or the committee or whoever that works, right? Like, I don't know.
I mean, look, we're a culture of silent majority, no doubt about that. How do you fix it? That's the question. First of all, it has to be fixed. This is unsustainable. We're not going to be able to sustain the growth and trajectory of this country unless we reverse and flip this silent majority into an active majority. Because just like the internet, the voices screaming the loudest, while minority voices completely override and overshadow the voices of the many. And there's not much that we do actively do about it. We accept it and we allow it. And these are the consequences. This is how you get controversial reversing's of abortion rights and don't say gay bills. Is because you've got a handful of minority people with outsized weight and access to the bully pulpit. What as a society, what do we do about that?
It's such an inefficient way. You have people inherently are change adverse. Is that the phrase? Right? They don't like change. Risk averse. But they don't like change, right? And I guess there's risk inherent in that. They don't like change.
Except all these things are radical changes.
But the way that we're operating is every change is stopped. And unless it gets publicized and there's enough outrage that builds and an entire wave of counter crashes, like unless there's a big enough counter force or whatever to that anti-change voice, then it doesn't happen. But everything gets stopped. But these always get stopped.
These aren't changes. That's what's funny about this. These aren't our changes. This is the way it's been going for like 50, 40 years. Like it's been a steady progression. The radical change is what's happening now. This like about face, this radical about face to 1943, like to 1952, to going back 80 years. That's the change. That's what's wild. The people making these changes weren't alive at the time when these things were normalized. They're hearkening back to a period they never lived. The people who believe these things in earnest are dead. That generation, they're gone. These people are hearkening back to something they have no connection to. They've never seen it. Most of these people never seen any of it. Never seen. I mean, Stonewall was more recent, but I'm just saying, well, maybe not. But like the real speakeasy days of where being gay, you had to like go and to back rooms and I don't know what exactly. My history, my LGBT history is not as good as it should be. So my reference isn't that great right now. But what I'm trying to get at is the real hardcore, ante days, 50s, 60s, the people who lived it are no longer with us. These are stories that people have been told that they're harkening back to something they just never lived, they never experienced. So
what are we gonna do?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying, Trump's a child of the '80s, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Like what is he talking about? Well, these people talk about make America great again. It's like the '80s. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, great for who? I think that's always the question.
Yeah, that's always the
And
question.
they're
I'm just saying
and they're pretty clear about who they want it to be great for.
Yeah. I'm just saying, banning books, these yeah, it's a time that just is beyond most of us. Most of us listening to this
I
pod.
studied art history. The idea that David is pornographic, that's embarrassing.
Right.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it as well.
It's it's such a silly thing. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah. Anyway,
when you just think about all the history and then the way that the world looks at, I'm sorry, like it is just so freaking embarrassing that so many people in this country would agree with that and align to that. And they fired a principal over it. And I'm sure it's happening so many places across the country. That is some dystopian stuff. That's just crazy. It's stupid. It's dumb.
Well, on that light note, JB, where can they find us?
Folks, hit us up, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, share it with your friends, leave us a comment. We're always looking to engage with you guys. So, hit us up.
Yeah. And with that, Retraction. Oh.